Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. As you probably know, the Russians conducted three consecutive massive missile and drone attacks on Ukraine in the past few days, aimed at the critical infrastructure of Ukraine. We have some specifics here. The Russians, returned the favor. Unfortunately, not only to the Ukrainians, but to their sponsors, the guys in charge, which are interests, not the countries, the interests, by attacking the Ukraine underground gas storage. That is, the West, or the guys owning the West, will try to affect our ability to sell our products by attacking our refineries and our pipelines. We're going to do the same thing. Unfortunately, for the Russians, I would say, they will not retaliate on the, as I always say, the circus lion and the tiger tamer, or the trainer. You remember? The West, the guys, the interests that own the West are the trainer in the circus. They have the lions over there, which is China, Russia, Iran, and the bad guys, And you have the pole and the long whip, the long pole and the long whip. These are the vassal states that these interests are using in order to attack and hit and hurt the lions or the tigers. And the tigers are fighting with the Ukrainians, then with the Romanians, then with the Poles, and with the Baltic states, whomever these guys are going to push forward to be fighting there for their interests. So that's what it is. Unfortunately, that's why I say the lion will fight only the pole and the whip, not the trainer yet. So the Russians are destroying the Ukrainian underground gas storage facilities instead of, let's say, destroying, the ones that are, let's say, the U.S. oil strategic reserves in Texas, let's say. You know what I mean? Okay, they wouldn't do it yet, but if the things go that far, that could happen. Now, let's see what do we have here. We have three articles. Bloomberg. Ukraine says Russia barrage aimed at underground gas storage. And what do you think happens? The gas price jumps like that, as the oil price jumped like that when these guys attacked the Russian refineries. And who's losing? You and I. Russia struck an underground gas storage facility in western Ukraine during Sunday's missile and drone attack, underlying threats to the country's energy system. The barrage damaged equipment on the ground. This guy says on Facebook, the underground storage itself wasn't damaged as it's significantly below the surface, he said. These things are not, I don't think they're owned by the Ukrainians, and you're gonna figure things out little by little. Kremlin forces aimed missiles and drones at Ukraine's power and gas facilities. Oh, so it's not only the residential buildings? The Russian Defense Ministry said in an operational update posted on Telegram. It was the second targeted attack against Ukrainian energy infrastructure in 3 days after a bombardment Friday. Russian strikes have caused as much as $100 million in damage to Ukraine's power grid the past 3 days, CEO of network operator Ukrenergo said on Facebook. It's okay. These guys are going to print some money. The banks are going to just write some numbers and the money is there. That's how it works. European gas futures, European, not American, European, rose as much as 4.2% Monday on fears of energy supply disruption in both Ukraine and Russia. Yet, Sunday's assaults didn't interrupt domestic gas supplies, and Ukraine continues to meet all obligations and fulfill storage bookings for or by. So foreign clients. So continues to meet all obligations and fulfill storage bookings. Storage bookings. These guys are booking storage of gas, the foreign clients. Got that? Okay. Ukraine has been advertising itself as a storage haven for European traders awash with gas. Almost 80% of its underground capacity is located in the west of the country, the Polish side of the Ukraine. Far from the front line, no, close to Poland, and in area that have suffered relatively limited airstrikes during Russian invasion, now into its third year. Ukraine has lured citizens with options to store and trade gas for 3 years without paying taxes. and customs duties. So who's the profiteers? Do you think these guys want the war to end? Do you think they would want that? If they do that, they will have to pay taxes, custom duties. Foreign traders injected 2.5 billion cubic meters into Ukrainian storage sites since last year only. The country has also been targeting Russian energy facilities. These guys are, as I said, the lion and the whip, the lion and the pole. Some far from their border. Its forces have attacked more than a dozen refineries with explosive-laden drones this month, dragging down Russia's daily oil processing rate to the lowest weekly level in 10 months. Senior Ukrainian officials on Friday defended Kiev's attacks on oil infrastructure following a report that U.S. officials have warned against such operations because of rising oil prices and the prospect of Kremlin retaliation. That the last line I read was blah, 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 blah. Because guess who's going to come to save everyone? The American LNG, liquefied natural gas, which is paid, 3 to 4 times more than the Russian gas that used to come via pipeline. So what do you think happens? So who's profiting? I know it's just a coincidence. Nothing planned, because the guys, the businessmen are just, good people, and they just take advantage of the situations, the consequences that they are not responsible. They don't donate anything to anybody. No campaign donations, which could be called in other countries bribes, but hey, this is the best system we got. Next one. We can make shut up. The new voice of Ukraine. Russian missile strike hits Naftogaz group facilities in western Ukraine. All right. It seems like these guys are serious about it. So it says that the Naftogaz group facilities in western Ukraine were damaged in a Russian missile attack. Chairman of Ukraine's state oil and gas company, the same guy, reported on Facebook. So he reported that in the morning, the enemy attacked the energy infrastructure again. We have damage to Naftogaz group facilities in the west. Preliminary reports indicate no casualties. That's good. Again, the Russian army launched a massive attack on Ukraine on March 24th, involving missiles and drones overnight. Explosions were heard in the Kharkiv and Mykolaiv Oblast, while air defense systems were active in Kiev and Lviv Oblast. Where's Lviv or Lvov? Right here. And this is Poland, by the way. This is Poland, waiting like a spider to get this part of the country, okay? And this is where the facilities are located. Why? For the foreign partners, customers. You can make sure. This is like Epstein's airplane right here. And these guys are Epstein's customers. And these are, unfortunately, the victims. All right. Now it says here, they attack with this, they attacked with that. In the morning, the Russian army targeted another critical infrastructure facility in Lviv Oblast with Kinzhal missiles. Kinzhals. And that gets me to the last article. Ram pam pam. Russia attacks critical infrastructure facility in Lviv Oblast. That is the Polish territory claimed by them anyway. In Lviv Oblast with hypersonic Kinzhal missiles. I said many times the Poles will get this side here as much as they can come here, as the Soviets and the Germans did in the Second World War. They will meet the Russians in the middle this time. It's going to be the Poles again. Why I say again? Because they did the same thing, the same kind of partition with the Nazis in Czechoslovakia. Remember? When the Nazis said, we got only Sudeten land and that's all we got, that's all we need. And when they got in, what did the Polish army do? They took an oblast in the north. Go and check it out. They talk about the Ribbentrop-Molotov pact, but they don't talk about the Nazi and the Polish pact to do exactly what they did. You don't believe me? Check the history. I know. And why? Because that was their minority living over there. The same thing as the Russians said about the Donbass. You kill our Russian-speaking population in Ukraine, we're going to defend them. So I think the Poles will have the right to defend their minority living in Ukraine, western part. Don't you think? I can guarantee you that. The Romanians will just jerk off at the border, do nothing about their territories taken by the Soviets the Soviets being Stalin, the Georgian, not the Russian, and given to Ukraine, and then all that Moldova created and blah blah blah. The Romanians will just wait and see what NATO Al Capone will tell them to do. So let's read this article further. And it says that firefighters who were extinguishing the fire were warned about the attack in time. Okay, we got it. So we got here that on March 24th, Russia conducted massive missile strike on Ukraine. Enemy attacked Ukrainian cities with 29 missiles and 28 UAVs. In particular, 19 missiles and 7 attack drones flew to Lviv Oblast, where they hit infrastructure. Air Defense Forces destroyed 43 Pabarop. Well, they hit, obviously, with not only they didn't have a lot of Kinzhal missiles, I think 2 or 3 or something like that. So here it is. Who's losing? You and I. The Western investors are not paying taxes and not paying, how do you call that? Duties, right here, customs duties. Why? Because they want to facilitate their people, give them gas cheaper. My friend, this is business, it's not love making. And even in love making, you try to get the most out of it and give the most if you are a certain kind of person. So here it is. They attack the critical infrastructure and the underground gas storage facility where the West is getting its sucks its energy, thinking that they try to balance it, but the Russians are going to do this. Why? Because these guys are doing that to them. Why? Because the Russians are doing that to them, and because these guys brought NATO or want to bring NATO over there, and these guys don't want that. And then those people are killed over there by those people at those guys' and so on. Where do we get to that? To 1991. Well, when NATO started, we're not going to expand, just agree with us. Okay, take your troops out. We're coming over. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.